So let's go ahead and come down onto your back. You don't need any props in particular. We're just going to come right down. And then as soon as you come down on the floor, if you'll take your arms up and over your head as you bring your legs down to the floor. And just point and flex your feet as you kind of continue a reach out through your fingertips. Breathing deeply. And then turn the feet out, kind of like you're, turning yourself into kind of dancer legs or duck feet, so to speak. And then walk your legs out just a little bit wider and turn your toes in. So internally rotate the legs. And then spin the feet out again. A little more kind of a dancer, duck feet kind of thing. And then turn the feet inward. So you're just kind of rotating on the heels there. And then bring your feet back to more of a mountain pose position and take a hold of your left wrist over your head and just kind of inch your body over to your right. You just kind of it's almost like you walk your shoulder blades over there a little bit. And then walk your feet over to the right. Try to have the feet together ultimately and really feel into a deep stretch down your left side. So give a little pull on your left hand as you deepen that stretch down the side. Breathing into it and just noting the difference between doing this lying down versus standing up. And then walk your legs back to center, scoot your torso back to center, and switch your hands overhead. So take a hold of your right wrist and walk your shoulder blades over to the left. You're kind of curling your body, but you still end up with the shoulder blades on the floor. And then walk both feet over to the left. See if you can ultimately have the feet almost together with the feet flexed. And then give your right wrist a little bit of a pull with that left hand. All right, and then go ahead and walk the feet back to center, walk your torso back to center. Let's bend the arms into a cactus position. And then you're going to press your elbows and your forearms and your hands down into the floor. Lift up through your chest. So push the elbows down, push the shoulder blades down, really give yourself just a little bit of a back bend as you kind of lift up through your belly, arching the low back. Trying to get as much of your back, your spine off of the floor as you can. So clearly your head's still down, your bottom's still down, but get a nice big bridge going underneath you. And then release that. Let the back come back to the floor, bend your knees. And then take your hands onto your thighs and slide the heels of the palms down into your hip creases and just give a little push forward with your hands. See if your arms will straighten for you. Depending on how long your arms are, you might get a nice stretch for the hip flexors. You might feel nice in the lower back. Continue to breathe as you're here. And then release that with the hands and draw your knees in toward your chest. Take your knees out just a little bit wider so they're more a little beyond the shoulders. And then push your right knee forward, pull your left knee in, and reverse it. Pull the right knee in, push your left knee forward, and just go back and forth a little bit. So it's a little awkward, but you're just kind of opening the hips a little bit here. This kind of funny bug pose on your back. Now bring the knees together and with your hands clasped around your knees, pull your knees in towards your chest. See if you can keep the lower part of the pelvis on the floor. It'll want to lift up as you pull your knees in, but try to keep as much of your low back on the floor as you can, all the way down beyond the sacrum. And then keep a hold of your right leg, take your left leg down and open the right knee out to the side. Support the outer leg with your right hand and just open that leg out. You don't have to bring the foot up too high. We're just kind of telling the legs, okay, we're doing yoga now, so that they can start to kind of get with the program here. Go ahead and bring that right leg through center and roll over onto your left hip as you cross the right leg over. And you can support the leg however you like with your left hand. You don't have to grab your big toe or anything like that. Just this should just feel pretty good. Just giving yourself a nice spinal twist here. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take the right leg down, bring the left knee in, and then open the knee out to the side. Right arm is out to the right, and then we'll straighten that left leg, so support the outer leg in whatever way feels really good. You still want to have a sense of mountain pose in your right leg and thigh, so you're nice and rooted there as that left leg is out to the side. And then go ahead and bring the left leg through center. Roll over onto the right hip and support your left leg with your right hand in whatever way feels good to you. So still making a little bit of an effort to keep the left shoulder blade grounded. And this is not about trying to bring your left foot to the floor over on your right there. It's really more just trying to keep the upper body stable as you get a nice twist here. And then bring the leg back to center and set both feet on the floor. Reset your hips so you're nice and square, and then cross your right ankle on top of your left knee. Drop your legs over to the left and rotate your right knee away from you a little bit. So you start to get a little something going on in that outer right hip. Keep the right foot active. Arms are out to the side. Now bring the legs to center, but keep them crossed like this, and then reach for the back of your left leg as you come into a little eye of the needle pose here. So flex the feet, make sure you keep that active. Push down through the sitting bones a little bit. Again, trying to have a lot of your spine grounded. Your neck curve is lifted. Maybe your lumbar curve is lifted. Maybe not, perhaps not. And then release. Uncross your legs. Let's cross the left ankle on top of the right knee. Take your arms back out into a T position and just drop your legs over to the right. So the right leg is resting on the floor and the left knee can rotate away from you just a bit to whatever extent feels appropriate for your body. If not so much, then not so much. Breathing into that, keeping the feet active. And then go ahead and bring your legs back to center. And you'll reach for the back of your right leg as you come into an eye of the needle here, and you're early in the practice. So making the feet active as you draw your legs towards yourself, trying to keep the lower part of the pelvis on the floor, drawing the legs in. Just feeling into that left hip and glute area, whatever this has to offer you right now. Be gentle with it, we're just warming it up a little bit. And then go ahead and release and set the right foot down. Cross the other way again. So taking your right ankle over your left knee, and then take the legs back over to the left. Rotate your right knee away from you again. So coming back into this outer hip area a little bit. And then you're going to keep your legs essentially in this shape, but scoot your left foot over a little more on the right side of the mat. So just kind of walk your legs over in this little position here. So what you end up in is more of a supine fire log pose. The legs stacked, shins kind of stacked on top of one another. and it might be a little intense, so don't push it too much. You might have a lot of lift in your lumbar curve. Try to pull your low belly in and up as you're here, and this works pretty deeply in the hip flexors. And then lift your knees up. Now you still have the right ankle on top of the left knee. Slide your right knee tightly over your left knee, and now drop both knees over to the right. So just this nice kind of tight knee over knee situation, but a little deeper twist now as you take those legs to the right. Keep that left shoulder on the floor. Maybe you turn your head and look to the left. Come on back to center. Uncross your legs. Take your left ankle on top of your right knee, and again, you'll drop both legs over to the right, just like this, rotating your left knee away from you. So right back where we were. And then we're gonna kind of scoot the right foot over to the left on your mat. So just kind of wiggle it over there, keeping your legs basically in this shape. So you end up in somewhat of a supine fire log here. You're gonna have a lot of lift in the legs. Don't worry about that. You're not trying to flatten your legs to the floor. You know, we're not old Indian men who've been doing this for 80 years, right? So we don't even want to be old Indian men who've done this for 80 years. I think we're perfectly content being who we are, and this is how our legs are. So not to worry. And then lift the knees up a little bit. You still have your left ankle on top of the right knee. And now slide that left knee tightly over your right and drop your legs over to the left. So that tight knee over knee position. Try to keep your right shoulder blade down. Keep your feet active. All right, and then bring the legs back to center and uncross. Okay, so you're gonna bring your right knee in and take a hold of the outer edge of your right foot. So the right knee moves out to the side a little bit, so you're basically in kind of a half happy baby with that right leg. And then see if you can get the back of the pelvis squarely on the floor, and go ahead and take your left leg straight up toward the ceiling. Now we're going to roll a little bit over to the right, so that left side of the body is going to lift up off of the floor now. And then can you bring your right knee down to the floor? Left side body is going to be lifted. So you're just kind of holding onto the edge of the right foot. The left leg is going to cross behind your right leg. Feeling up into that outer hip a little bit. Try to keep your right shoulder down. And then we're going to pivot the left leg parallel to the floor until it comes back to a Tadasana leg. So just kind of draw the leg back down, turn the toes up on your left foot. You're not bringing it to the floor, you're just hovering that left heel above the floor, and then bring the left leg back up to vertical, and do it again. Drop your left leg over to the right behind this leg you're holding onto, feeling into that outer hip. So you try to keep that left side of the body long, and you bring those left toes up as close to your right ear as your body would care to go right now. And then slide the leg down, somewhat parallel to the floor as the left toes turn up, more of a Tadasana leg. And we'll do this a third time. So bringing that left leg up, cross it over to the right behind the leg that you're holding. See if you can give yourself a little push away from the head with your left hip, and bring those toes up towards your head a little bit on your left foot. And I'll give you a little bit more in the hip, in the hamstrings a little bit, and then let that leg go back to a Tadasana leg. And then pivot. You're going to let this right knee lift up and come back to a regular half happy baby, so you can ground your left leg, and then release it. We'll take the right leg down. Do anything you need to do, a little wiggle to get a little more symmetrical in your spine, and then bend both knees again. Bend your left leg, reach up and take a hold of the outer edge of the foot so that left knee moves out beyond the body a little bit, and as you pull down on the edge of the foot, the knee comes down just a bit. Half happy baby position in that leg. And then go ahead and take your right leg down to the floor. Tadasana leg on the right side. So just feel that pose for a moment or two. And then we're going to start to let the body weight shift over to the left until you can bring your left knee down to the floor and bring your right leg up to vertical. So with this left shin bone kind of vertical as you hold on to the edge of the foot, go ahead and cross your right leg over to the left behind the leg you're holding. Keep your right shoulder blade down if you can, just feeling into that strange little shape. And then this right leg is going to just pivot parallel to the floor until it comes back to kind of a Tadasana leg, toes pointing up. Bring your right leg back up to vertical. And then cross your right leg over behind your left leg. Hang out with this for a moment or two and try to rotate your right hip away from you and maybe bring those right toes up towards your head a little bit more. Keeping the right shoulder blade down. And then let the leg kind of sweep back to a Tadasana position, toes pointing up. Bring the leg back up to vertical, just one more pass through here. So cross the right leg over to the left behind the leg that you're holding. Really give yourself a sense of length on that right side. You could even use your thumb to assist yourself. And see about bringing those right toes up towards your head a little bit. Right shoulder blade on the floor, left shoulder blade on the floor. And then sweeping this right leg like a second hand down to 6 o'clock. And then go ahead and bend that leg and release the top leg, set both feet on the floor. So reset your pelvis so you feel fairly square. Bring your hands back to your thighs and slide the heels of the palms down into your hip creases and give your thighs or your hip creases a little bit of a push forward with your hands. Try not to let your shoulders kind of scoot up toward the ceiling. Just giving your legs just a little lengthening in those hip creases there. Especially after some half-happy babies, sometimes we can just feel a little congested in there, so it feels kind of nice to lengthen them out. Then go ahead and release your legs. All right, let's roll over onto the right side. Resting your head on your right arm, and then you'll take your left leg forward, your right leg back, and we'll open up into that big giant twist. So go ahead and roll open, let your head come off of your arm, reach your left arm back as you turn your head and come into this nice big twist. Try to keep the legs active, give a little bit of a push through your heels. Breathing fully. A lot of times in twists, we don't feel, it's not a natural thing to try to breathe fully. That's why we're breathing fully. Now, if it works for you, bend your right leg and then see if your left hand can reach down and take a hold of the top of that foot. Maybe you can bring your right heel in a little closer to your bottom and get a little thigh stretch on the right leg. Now you'll have the option, of course, to opt out of that if you like. And then go ahead and release the right leg. Roll back onto your belly. And let's go to the other side. So roll onto your left side, your head resting on your arm. And then take your right leg forward, your left leg back, and go ahead and open up. Roll open, let your head come to the floor, reaching your right arm to the right. Do your best to keep your legs somewhat straight. You can kind of flex your feet and push through the heels a little bit as you get a really lovely spinal twist here. All this stuff hopefully kind of giving you a little I don't know, a gentle chiropractic session after whatever kind of day you've had. It's just so lovely just to move the body. And it is so amazing how it affects all the levels, the physical, mental, and emotional, just to move your physical body around, right? So it's not just like endorphins after a run. There's more to it than that. And that's the great thing, as you all know, about how comprehensive yoga is, right? So now maybe we bend the left leg, reach down, take a hold of the foot, and see about bringing that left heel in a little closer to the bottom. If your hamstrings are saying, ooh, no, I don't think so, then you'll release the foot. You won't come into it, right? And see what feels best to you. Pull your low belly in and up. That'll give you a little additional thigh stretch there if you're still holding the foot. And then let's release that left foot and roll over onto your belly. Let's prop up into a Sphinx position now. So coming up onto the forearms, just have the legs, your thighs at your hip distance width, settle into your chest a little bit, and pull back gently in your forearms, your hands, your shoulder heads. Pull the low belly in and up as you come into this gentle back bend. Now pushing the hands and forearms down and forward, go ahead and round your upper back a little bit, almost like you're doing a little cat-cow from Sphinx here. Tucking your chin, and then reverse it. Come back to the Sphinx you know. So sinking down into the chest, pulling those shoulder heads back. Finding a little sense of back bend, getting a little depth in the curl of the thoracic spine. And then again, push down and forward with your elbows and forearms, rounding your back just a little bit, tucking your chin. And then release that, come back to your Sphinx, come all the way down to the floor, to your belly, and rest your chin on your hands, and pick your feet up. And just let your feet drop a little from side to side as you take a little reverse windshield wiper here. And then bring the legs back down to the floor. We're going to come into Shalabhasana, so bring the arms back behind you if you can. If you don't want to do that, hands alongside of you might feel nice. So lift up through the shoulder heads, lift up through the chest. Keep the feet on the floor, so we're not trying to lift the legs right now. Just keep the legs long as you lift up through the chest. And try to pull the shoulder blades away from your neck. Opening up through the chest a little bit. And release. Hands to the floor. And let's press up to table pose. So find your way to tabletop. I'm going to put this hair back into a little bit of order here. Okay, and from tabletop, let's come right to downward facing dog. So feel free to give yourself some gentle presses, however your body feels like it would be appropriate to move. So just a little push down, maybe through one heel and then the other one. Bend the knees maybe. See if you can feel a sense of lifting the shoulders, sinking the chest, and moving the sit bones back and perhaps up a little bit. And that can often just really change the nature of your down dog. Now let's go ahead and walk the hands back to the feet. Coming to a forward fold at the back of the mat, bowing forward, feeling into the backs of the legs. Inhale, lengthen halfway forward for Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold in. We'll come up to standing. So hug your midline. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Bring the palms together overhead and just a slight little back bend. And bring the hands to prayer in front of your heart. Okay, it's already warm enough in this room. I'm going to lose one layer here. And then bringing the hands again to prayer position. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhaling, release the arms. Open the palms. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, fold in. Now bend your knees. Reach your arms out and forward. And then bend your elbows and take a hold of opposite elbows with your hands. So if anything, you want your chin dropped a little bit so that maybe the back of the head is able to press up against your forearms. You're doing this all with bent knees, so move the seat back, hug your midline, and then slowly press the head into the arms and come up more toward vertical, but not too vertical, toward vertical. And then slowly sit back, move your seat back. With a long spine, bow forward and let your belly maybe even drape over your thighs. Hug your midline, we're coming up to standing again. Pull the belly in and up, pressing the head into the arms, work your glutes. And then come all the way up to standing. Release your arms down to your sides and open your palms. And just feel the effects of what practice we've done so far. So it's unusual. I mean, what we've done is not sort of normal, usual stuff, but you know, it kind of feels like, yeah, it's kind of moving some stuff in the body, right? So bring your hands to prayer. Take an inhale. Exhale, release the arms. Inhale, arms come up and overhead again. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen halfway forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold in. Bend your knees. Walk your hands out and forward to come to downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg, bending the knee, opening up through the hip a little bit. On your exhale, bring your right foot forward and through. Find your lunge legs. Come right up to crescent. Arms up alongside of the ears. Take your arms out into a T position and then cross your left arm over your right and give yourself a hug. So working the fingertips around the outer edges of the shoulder blades or the inner edges of the shoulder blades. Pull the shoulder blades down your back a little bit as you're here. And then come forward and just hugging yourself, come toward the inside of your right leg. And some of this is just makes it more challenging for balance, right? And come on back up. Release the arms back to crescent. And bring your hands to the floor. We'll step right to plank pose. And we'll slowly come to the floor. You can set knees down or not, you choose. Come all the way down. Let's take a cobra now. And lower down. Curl your toes under, downward facing dog. And let's lift the left leg. Bend the knee, open up through the hip a little bit. Do your best to keep a sense of balance in the shoulders, the lift of the shoulders, the weight of the hands. And on your exhale, bring that left foot forward, find your lunge legs. Come on up to crescent lunge. Feeling into the legs. And then take your arms out into a T. Cross your right arm over your left arm. Reaching the fingertips around behind you, taking a hold of the edges of the shoulder blades. And this time, rather than tipping forward, we're just going to rock back and forth a little bit from side to side. Not so easy to do, as I'm discovering. Balancing, it's a little tricky. And then come back to center, undo the arms, take them back up alongside of the ears in this crescent. Hands to the floor. Plank pose. Vashisthasana onto the left hand. So walk your left hand forward, out to the left, roll to the outer edge of the left foot, take your right arm up, and then bring it alongside of the ear. Both hands to the floor, right to the second side, right hand forward and out to the right a little bit. Roll to the edge of the right foot, taking the left arm up. Bring the arm alongside of your ear. Good, both hands to the floor, lower down to the belly. Cobra pose. Downward dog. And walk your hands back to your feet, back to Uttanasana. Bend your knees in Uttanasana. And if you still have a blanket nearby, maybe that you were sitting on earlier, let's take a folded blanket. I'm going to put the folded blanket underneath the big toe mounds. Heels are on your mat. Big toe mounds are up on your blanket. Great. Okay. So now from here, push your big toe mounds down into the blanket and lift your toes up. You still have bent knees. And then you're going to bring your hands to your outer shins. And your hands are going to press in on the shins, and we're going to try to straighten the legs by pushing the inner thighs back. So taking the hands to the shins, and if your legs are not ready to straighten, then you're the one who knows that. So you're a sovereign being. You decide what your legs want to do. So pushing in on the shins, push your inner thighs back. See if your legs are ready to straighten. You're pressing down into those big toe mounds, lifting your toes up. Big stretch for the calves, for the hamstrings. Engage your glute muscles. Think about trying to widen your thigh bones apart as you're pushing your shin bones in. Woohoo! All right, now bend your knees. Release your hands. Slide that blanket out from underneath your big toe mounds. And just resume your normal forward fold and see how it feels here. Should feel a lot nicer. And then walk your hands out and forward. Come to downward facing dog. Now in this down dog, walk your feet a little bit wider and turn your toes slightly out. And then bend your knees, and you're going to take a hold of your mat. You're going to squish, hold the mat in your hands tightly like this. So each hand is gripping an edge of the mat. And then bend your knees, and with your hands, it's almost like you're trying to pull the mat out from underneath yourself by pushing it forward and moving your seat back. Now, I had you turn your toes out. Now turn your toes so they're facing forward and think about trying to widen your inner thighs back. Lifting the sitting bones up. Still kind of pulling the mat forward in your gripped hands there. You have bent knees for this. And then come forward a little bit. Go ahead and take your hands back into their normal down dog position. Set your knees down wide. Big toes touch. And sit back in a child's pose, bringing the hands together and sliding your hands back behind your head. So just breathe, and maybe you can walk your elbows forward and deepen the stretch in the back of the arms and the side ribs. Feeling a sense of the weight of the sitting bones, trying to reach toward the heels a little bit. All right, and then go ahead and bring the forearms back down to the floor. Come back up to table position here. And walk your knees back to about a hip distance. So we're going to set ourselves up for a little bird dog. So let's go ahead and take the left leg back, toes pointing down. And take your right arm forward and hug in towards your midline with your right arm and your inner left leg. Now bend your left leg and reach back with your right hand and see if you can take a hold of that foot. Push the foot back into the hand. Lifting the leg up just a little bit, but pulling your low belly in and up. And then release. Go ahead and just lengthen that left leg out. So just curl the toes under and push through the heel a little bit for a moment after having that kind of hamstring curl there. And then go ahead and set that knee down. Let's go to the other side. So right leg back, toes pointing down, left arm out in front, and then hug the midline with your left arm and your inner right thigh, pulling your low belly in and up. And then we'll bend the right leg, reach back with your left hand. See if you can take a hold of your foot or your ankle. Push the foot back into the hand and see if the leg will lift up a little bit. And maybe you can lift your gaze a little bit as you look forward. Pulling the belly in and up. And then release. Straightening your right leg, just set your toes down and just push through the heel a little bit. Lengthening those muscles after having them in a hamstring curl there. And then set both knees down. Won't a down dog feel nice in the legs now? So come into your down dog. Now please lift your right leg up behind you. On your exhale, bring it forward and through, coming into your lunge legs. Let's set up for side angle stretch, spinning your left heel down. Come on up to your right thigh with your right forearm and take your left arm alongside the ear. Parshva Konasana. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. Now let's slide the right hand to the floor inside of the foot. Take the top arm straight up so you have a nice wingspan there. Using the arm to really kind of open the leg a little bit. Pull your right glutes underneath you a little bit so you have some strength going on there. And then spin both hands to the floor. Pick up your back heel. Walk your right foot to the right and set your left knee down. Switch your weight over to your left hand and then turn to look to the right and reach back again for your right foot. Pulling the heel in, twisting, and stretching the thigh. And then release the leg. Step back to downward facing dog. And let's lift the left leg. On your exhale, bring it forward and through. Find your lunge position. And then spin your back heel down for side angle stretch over your left leg. So elbow to thigh, top arm alongside of the ear. Nice and strong. Pull the belly in and up. Roll those shoulders back a little bit. All right, let's spin the hands down to the floor. Pick up your back heel and set your right knee down. Take your weight over to your right hand, turn your left foot open a little bit, and then turn to look to the left. Bend your right leg, see if you can reach back for that foot. Pushing the foot into the hand. Roll the shoulders back. You could stay here just pushing the foot into the hand, or can you bring the heel in a little bit closer to your body? Make sure you're supporting yourself on your arms in an optimal way. Good, and then go ahead and release that leg. Hands down, downward facing dog. And then walk your feet about halfway up to your hands. Bend your knees. And then push your hands forward, push your inner thighs back and see about bringing the heels to the floor and maybe straightening the legs here. So similar to where you were with your feet up on that blanket, but you have your arms out a little further. And then set the toes down, walk your hands in toward yourself, and we'll come up to standing. So hugging toward the midline, inhale, reach your arms out. Up and overhead, bring the palms together, slide your hands to heart center. And release your arms to your sides and just feel your mountain pose for a moment or two. Feeling this amount of work. All of these twists, really, really good for the spine, but also to just release tension and toxins and things that can sit and just kind of fester and turn into thought forms that keep us awake at night. So if we don't sleep well because we've done that, then we'll just sleep well because we're exhausted. So one way or another, hopefully we got the problem solved, right? So let's take a wide stance on the mat. We're going to come forward into Prasarita Padottanasana. So bend the knees, move your hips back, and bring your hands down. And then walk your hands back a bit until your fingertips and your toe tips are about on the same line there. Then straighten the legs, push the hands forward isometrically so that you can bring your torso a little further back through the legs. Still pulling the shoulder blades toward the hips rather than your head. And then walk your hands forward. Bend your knees, spin the heels in and turn the toes out and bring the forearms up onto your legs. So we come to kind of horse stance or a goddess stance. Forearms press against the legs a little bit and make sure your knees and your toes are looking the same direction as you have this bit of an inner thigh stretch here. Now bring the hands to the floor, lift your hips a little bit. We're going to pivot the feet about 90 degrees to the left. So spin the feet and scoot your right foot even further, your left foot even further to the right than it already is. And then look back at the back foot and scoot it a little bit further to the left. So you're making an X with your legs. Now, try to square your hips because chances are your hips are kind of turned out to the right. Try to pull the right hip forward, pull the left hip back, and you could stay here or try to lift your hips and straighten your legs. So you should be able to look back and have a very clear view of your back foot because you've kind of got your legs in an X. Pulling the left hip crease back, trying to pull the right hip crease forward, lengthen out through the crown of your head. Feel free to stay here with this front leg as straight as you have it. Or with that long spine, can you bend your elbows a little bit and bring your torso just slightly closer to the front leg? Your legs will tell you. And then inhale, lift your torso up and bend back into your front leg. Go ahead and spin your feet and your hands a little more than 180 degrees or so, going the opposite direction. And we're going to walk the right foot over toward the left side of the mat. So walk it over there. And then take your left foot and scoot it over to the right. All of this with a bent right leg to start. And then from here, is it possible to start to lift the hips, pull them back, pull that outer right hip crease back as you're trying to pull the left hip forward. You could be up on blocks if it's just a bit much, or just on the fingertips, right? Whatever you need for support, but it's a piece of work. The legs in this position changes things. And then lengthening out through the crown of the head. Can you come forward toward that front leg? Maybe it's just a matter of bending the elbows an inch or so. And the answer might be, no, I don't even think I'm going to go there. So you choose for yourself. Breathing. And then lifting up. Bend back into your right leg and spin your feet back to more of a parallel wide-legged position. So it takes a little adjustment with the feet, coming back to Prasarita Padottanasana. And then walk your hands forward, right over the microphone so I could probably whisper. Walk your hands forward and come into kind of a wide-legged down dog. A wide-legged down dog. Pushing the hands forward, moving the hips back. All right, and then walk your hands back towards your feet. And we're going to hop or step the feet into hip distance width. So bend your knees. Go ahead and hop in. And we'll come up to standing, so hug your midline. Inhale, reach your arms out and up, arms up and overhead. Bring the palms together and slide your hands to heart center. Okay, let's release the arms down. Great. We're going to come down onto the floor, so make sure you have a blanket to sit on. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more work in the hips here. So we're going to do a little bit of a fire log pose. And since it's very similar to a pigeon and what it does with the legs, but we've already done a lot of stuff for the hips, just in kind of unusual ways. So let's take your left foot over to the right. And then you're going to take your right foot and rest it just on top of and slightly beyond your left knee. So you're trying to stack your shins somewhat. And it may or may not be true. This top leg may be coming up. So be really careful with this foot. The chances of that foot sickling may then just detrimentally affect the knee position. So it may be that if this is not working and your knee is way, way up there, that this leg might have to come forward, and you could rest, in this case, your right ankle on a block out in front of you so that that leg can relax a little bit and that knee's not quite as high and putting all that pressure on your knee joint. That would be a fine place to practice it. And you could also have the right ankle over the left knee and then straighten the left leg and come to a figure four, right? Just so you know, you've got plenty of options here. Now, as you're setting up for this, make sure no matter what position your legs ended up in, that both sitting bones feel pretty evenly balanced on whatever blanket you're sitting on there. And there's a sense that your sitting bones are exposed a little bit as you kind of move your buttocks flesh back and kind of lift it up. So you feel like you're a little grounded there. Now make your feet nice and strong. Bring the hands to the balls of the feet if you have your legs stacked. If you have one leg out in front, then it's a little more challenging, or you can have the figure four, one hand's on the foot, one hand's on the knee. All right, just so you know what your options are there. If you're able to do this, hands to the balls of the feet, push your feet out into your hands, pull your sacrum in and up and get as tall as you can in your spine. You might be isometrically pulling back a little bit on the feet so that you can feel that sense of lift in your spine, and then keeping all that height in the spine, maybe you can come forward toward the legs. Just push the feet out against your hands. Breathing with this, feeling the sense of heat in the hips. Not unlike our sculpture over here. She's got a handle on either side of her hips, heating her up over there. All right, and then go ahead and come on up. Now, keep your legs just as they are. We're going to twist the torso to the right. Bring the left elbow down onto your your right knee if you can. Hands to prayer, and then slide the hands back towards your hip. So you twist a little bit, looking to the right. Breathing. So it's a bit of a deep stretch. If you have the legs stretched, it's a bit of a deep one. And then come back to center. All right, excellent. So lean back, go ahead and uncross your legs, and we'll go right to the second side. So let's walk the left foot over, I'm still in mirror mode sometimes. Right foot's going over to the left. Left ankle's going on top of the right knee. And then you're making sure your sitting bones are somewhat exposed under you. So pull the wealth of the buttocks flesh back and up. And as you find your position here, hands to the balls of the feet. Push the feet out against the hands and pull back a little isometrically. Really get a sense that you're pulling your sacrum in And just from that pull in, there's a sense of the spine just shooting up through the top of your head. I can't make good explosion noises. I think that may be something that's built into the male genes. You know, I don't know. I hate to make any kind of generalities about that. If any of you are really good at like making explosion noises, right, all this energy going up through the crown. All right, now pushing your feet out into your hands with that long spine, come forward. And you're breathing. Pushing the feet out into the hands, nice long spine. All right, and then slowly come on up. Great, we're gonna twist to the left. Take your right elbow. Can you hook your elbow just on the front of the knee or the outer thigh? Bring your hands to prayer. And then pull the hands back toward your left hip as you twist. Just breathing into that. Woo, yeah. Sending a little note of appreciation to your body. And offering this pose as a way to nourish yourself. And then release and come back to center. Lean back, uncross the legs, and just take your legs out in front in Dandasana. So push down through your inner thighs, the backs of the legs, take your arms up. So you're in a downward dog sitting on your bottom. Pushing up through the hands, feel a sense of height in your spine. Great, and then release and bring your hands down. Excellent. So if you all have a bolster, and I believe you all do, we're going to set ourselves up for a nice, passive, big-hearted back bend here. So we're going to take the bolster horizontally across the narrow width of the mat. And I believe you all have, you know, like the bigger bolsters from the studio, right? So that should feel really, it should feel really nice. Then you're going to take one block, and the block's going to support your head. And I think that the difference here is going to be good because you're going to have this lift up under your thoracic spine. Your arms are going to go straight out into a T. Your head will be supported on the block. And at least with the block, we have options as far as whether it's flat or you tip it up on its edge. So we'll see what feels best. But you can take your blanket. And this is not Shavasana. This is the pose before Shavasana, but we do want to get a little passive back bending here. And because it's winter, you might want to throw that blanket over yourself, even if you're still feeling pretty warm from your fire log pose, right? Okay, so I'm going to come forward a little bit, give myself a little space between my sacrum and the bolster, and then lay over that bolster. And I want to have my head end up on the block so that I can have my arms straight out in a T. Now, if you feel like your arms or your shoulders are getting pushed up toward your ears, you need to scoot a little further north. Scoot up a little bit so that the bolster is a little further down your back. And that way then when you have your arms straight out in a T position, they're literally straight out. They're not pushed up like this, okay? And then from there, you want to have this sense that the bolster is kind of pinning your shoulder blades in underneath you, pinning the shoulder blades towards your midline, and kind of gluing them down against the back body. So there's a nice sense of opening up through the chest, the pecs as the arms are out to the sides. And you just let your head go, let your shoulders go, let everything go, and let this back bend be without effort. So you get all of the benefit with very little of the effort. And as you find yourself kind of settling over the bolster, then just become aware of your breath. Practicing Ujjayi breath. Try to keep your in-breath and your exhale equally long, right? And we'll be here for now, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes or so. Okay, so here we go. Maybe just another 30 seconds here. All right, so just let yourself take in a nice full deep breath so you feel this expansion across your chest. A nice full exhale. Another big round of inhale. Exhale on a sigh. Okay. And then go ahead and bend your knees. And just roll gently to your side. Don't try to lift your head up until you get fully to your side. And then use the strength of your hands to bring yourself up. We're not going to do too much to change our position here. You can take the bolster either completely out of the way, or you can turn your bolster vertically and then lay back down on it and resume your Shavasana. Now, you can also, if you're just done having something elevating your back or your spine, you can just take that bolster out from underneath you. So you choose what feels best to you, and we'll just take the rest of the time to just let the body go completely. Such good medicine after all of the effort in the poses. Just think, you could be in a Vashisthasana or a side plank, a one-arm plank right now, but no, you're in Shavasana. So let yourself go. So right where you are, just let your body completely go. And offer some gratitude to anything, for anything. Bring yourself to a state of gratitude for anything you like. And can you feel how that frequency shift changes things in your physical, mental, or emotional bodies? We're just going to take a nice long time to bring ourselves up to a seat. So bring your knees to a bend. And then just really slowly start to roll to your side, using your hands to brace yourself so that you don't, if you are up on a bolster, you don't roll off in any sort of uncomfortable way. Then go ahead and slowly press yourself up to a seat. Lovely. We'll bring our hands to Anjali Mudra. So I send my deepest love and gratitude to all of my teachers, to all of my guides, your guides, any of the ways that we receive the information that helps to keep us on a trajectory that opens and expands our hearts and enables us to be more loving and accepting of one another. So I'm deeply grateful for all of this, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you tonight. Thank you for coming to your practice and your mat. It's been great fun. Om Shanti. Namaste.